Judah and Brian from Judah and the Lion.
What's up?
The rhyme was unintentional, by the way, but it kind of works out. I like it better when you say it like that.
You got it.
Yeah.
Was the original band name Judah and the Brian? No?
No.
We've gotten that before, though.
No. Where does that name come from?
Honestly, I wanted to be a rapper when I was little, and it was kind of like in the Eminem heyday, 50 Cent, like that good old, like, early 2000s rap. And I remember, like, going to the living room and rapping in front of my mom, and she was like, if you ever start a band, you could call it the Lion of Judah, which is, like, from the Old Testament.
Yeah.
And I was like, Lion sounds tough, you know, or whatever. And it just kind of stuck with me when I met the guys. We're like, we wanted to kind of flip it around and kind of make it more us. So, and Brian was a bit furry.
How did the band get together? What's the beginnings?
So we met at college at Belmont University in Nashville. And at the time, Judah had reached out to me and Nate just to jam. We kind of had mutual friends, and he knew that we played mandolin and banjo, and he was wanting to hear that more bluegrass sound with some of the songs he had been writing. So we met in the bell tower on campus, and it was almost like a blind date. We got lunch together, played some music, and it just kind of felt good, and we've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, and was that 2011?
2011, yeah. December, like right on the edge of 2012, but yeah.
I'm assuming you expected you'd still be doing it for decades, right? You don't go into this thinking you're not going to make it. But are you surprised by the success at all?
I mean, I think for us, like, especially when we met, I think the expectation was just to make an EP. You know, it was like kind of one step at a time. I don't think that, and maybe I won't speak for Brian, but at least for me, like, I didn't really have the expectation of becoming, you know, like a band that was going to be around for 11 years, you know?
Yeah.
Like, not in like a self-deprecating way. It's just kind of like I didn't think that I was like, you know, that takes a lot of things to go your way to kind of be able to do that for that long. So we do feel very blessed and thankful to kind of have done this for as long as we have so far. Did
you have alternative careers ready? If it didn't happen,
those are also pretty unorthodox for me and Brian, I think.
Yeah, I did not have a backup plan, to be honest. I dropped out of school so that we could start touring. So very lucky to have been able to not have to pay those last 2 years of tuition.
Right, right. Well, let's jump to the new album because it's due out, I think, May 10th, if I'm not mistaken, right? And it's very personal. Give us some of the backstory on this album.
Yeah, so the record's called The Process. It's about the Kubler-Ross's stages of grief, which just comes in 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. And we kind of had this concept a couple years ago, just kind of going through life and the ups and downs in life, and like figuring out where me and Brian were kind of dealing with unprocessed grief in our own heart. Yeah. And then it kind of became very evident that, you know, I went through a pretty painful divorce during the pandemic, and a lot of other things was kind of happening, a couple suicides and with close relatives, and it was like, how do we write about these things with hope intertwined with it? Because I didn't want to we didn't want to just go out and write like a sad record about the divorce or, you know, something like that. And so the process is kind of looking back in our own stages of those places, and we wrote a few songs per stage that kind of intertwines the story of grief with my divorce, with our own sets of pain and what we've kind of walked through together and separately. So we're really proud of it. We hope that it brings a lot of healing to whoever gets to hear it.
You've got parents that are both therapists. Did that help this process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we leaned on both our family in order to pick which songs went in which stage. It was good to have that framework going in because we had some songs and kind of just had to fill in the puzzle piece of, is this song going under anger or is it more depression? And kind of fitting in those emotions helped us process what we were making as we went through it.
Is this maybe your most authentic album? Most personal? Or no?
It's definitely the most personal. I think that we've always tried, even like starting out, we've always tried to be as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely leaning into it more. I mean, we're kind of doubling down on the honesty and trying to be, you know, vulnerable and raw, and, you know, even the specificities of some of the lyrics are very, very true.
Yeah.
So and it's really interesting. I don't know if it was Bono or one of my heroes that wrote, like, as writers or artists, you know, become like more specific, sometimes the more universal that line is. So you could be writing about, you know, a dinner spot that you would go to and give it a specific place, but then you would be able to think about what that specific spot was for you.
Right.
So we really hope that it connects to other people's stories and their version of kind of navigating through this life too.
Brian, I read where you are becoming more open to, or you're experimenting more with using technology in creating music. Tell us about that process.
Yeah, we really kind of tried to lean into the synthesizer world as we were making this record. And fun thing about this was the previous record we made in a big studio with like a full band, but this was done in the basement studios of a couple producers in Nashville, friends of ours. So kind of going in there and really honing in some of the analog synths and making those sounds feel like they're being played with emotion was a fun thing to experiment with. And then obviously layering in the banjo, mandolin, acoustic nature of what we do.
How does that impact? Does it impact songwriting or the way you sing?
So like I usually like to do vocals like almost when the song is just getting ready to go to mix. So there's a lot more like emotion in my voice, because if I'm able to kind of crank up the headphones and like really send it. So I think it does bring out like this beautiful kind of like emotion. And I think our band has always tried to kind of do things a little bit different than a proper folk band, like add electronic instruments, add like hip hop to it, Brian's, you know, done a great job of adding these like synths and Moog sounds that kind of come out of nowhere for our band. So it's definitely inspirational when you get into the vocal booth, for sure. You're
on tour right now. Today is, I think, day 2, right? With Need to Breathe. And then you've got your own show. You're headlining your own tour. You'll be back here in the fall in October. What's the difference in doing those 2 shows? What's the approach? Is the performance the same, whether it's an opening slot or a headlining slot?
I think, you know, when you're opening, there's a lot of people discovering you for the first time. The markets are different, and, you know, like it's more of kind of a competitive. It's almost like a competitive thing, at least for me. Like at the college baseball player that I am, just like we're gonna try to like win these people over, and but we don't shy away from doing what we would usually do, because we always want to win. We always say like we want to win our fans. Right. If we're not ourselves and we, you know, trick people into liking us, well, they're not gonna like our headline show. So I think we try to be as authentic as possible, do everything that we would do at a proper headline for our opening. But then going into the headline, like at Red Hat this fall, it just like our headline shows just kind of feel like a warm hug to us. You know, we're with our people. Yeah. They're there because they somehow connect with the stories and kind of understand our personalities and stuff like that. And so we hope that we're giving back a warm hug to them as well.
Was it difficult to not have that connection during the pandemic?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a weird time for us. It kind of gave us an opportunity to come inward and like just see where we've been at as a band. That was right around 10 years of being a band. So that was kind of the sweet moment about it, was we got to celebrate that 10-year anniversary. But then coming back into touring, it feels like that puzzle piece is complete again.
That's great. Well, tonight at Coastal Credit Union Music Park with Need to Breathe. And again in October at Red Hat on the 13th. Looking forward to seeing you tonight and in the fall. And new album out on May 10th, The Process.
You're good with your dates, so we got to bring you around one.
Judah and the line, thank you for coming in. It's great to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.